there, it's me, Jocelyn Donovan. I'm the CPNP for Niwasakandassman and this is our meal planning episode on making a chicken. Now, many people are intimidated by the idea of making a whole chicken, as if it's, this lengthy process that requires very specific instructions and you can screw the whole thing up if you don't follow them. Making a chicken is super easy. As long as it is cooked thoroughly, you have nothing to worry about. You can season it in so many different ways, change the flavor in any way you like, and really chicken is such a useful meat because it just takes the flavor. So in this episode, we're just making a very basic roast chicken with onion and garlic and a little sprinkle of oil and some water. So in our video, you're gonna see how to make that. Enjoy.
To get started, you will need a few materials. You will need a large glass or ceramic pan to put your chicken in, a sharp knife and a cutting board, half an onion, a clove of garlic, and a ladle. To properly cook a chicken, you need to know how much it weighs. Look at the package to read the weight. You need to cook your chicken for 45 minutes per kilogram or 20 minutes per pound. Then you add another 15 minutes. So my chicken was almost 2 kilograms. So 2 times 45 minutes is an hour and a half, plus 15 minutes is an hour 45. Now that we have our materials, let's get started. You need to chop up your onion. I'm going to cut off the top and take off all of that extra skin around the outside. You don't need anything that feels papery. So usually the first layer or two of an onion feels a bit papery. Just take all of that off and use half of your onion. Now finish chopping it up and there we go, ready to use. And here's my glass pan that I'll use for cooking my chicken. Let's throw in the onion. Next we chop up our garlic. So you want to cut off the ends and take off all the papery stuff around the outside until you just have your lovely fleshy garlic left. Then you want to chop it up into tiny pieces. And there you go, your garlic is chopped. And now go ahead and add that to your pan. Now here is our whole chicken from the store. See, it's still on the tray I got from the store. There's really nothing else you have to do to it. It's not like a turkey where they have the giblets inside or anything. There's nothing inside the chicken. It's tied up and ready for you. So this chicken will just go directly onto the pan. Oh yeah, don't want that to go in. That's the pack on the bottom. That goes in the garbage. And here you go. There's our chicken on our bed of onions and garlic. And now it's time to add our water. So we have 2 cups of water there. We're going to slowly pour that over our chicken and our vegetables there. And give it a light drizzle with a bit of oil. I'm also going to put a little bit of salt on top to make it nice and crispy. There you go. Now your chicken is ready for the oven. So your oven is at 350 degrees and put your chicken inside. I'm going to take the chicken out 1 or 2 times so I can baste it. To baste, all it really means is you're taking some of that liquid at the bottom and putting it on the top. So some people use a baster for this, which is like a tube where you suck up the juice and then spray it on top. You can also use a spoon. They work just as well. So I use my ladle and I'm just going to put some of that moisture on top of my chicken. And you may also get some onion on there. That's just fine. Now it's time to put this bird back in the oven. Now the chicken has been in the oven for an hour and a half. You can see the skin is nice and crispy brown. The water at the bottom has started looking more like broth from all the juices. So I'm going to give it another little baste and put some of those juices back on top. Help the chicken stay nice and moist. And I'm going to take a knife and fork and cut at that thigh right there between the body and the leg. And you want to take a look at those juices. If it's running clear, your chicken is cooked through. If it's still a little bit pink, you'll need to put your chicken back in the oven for a little while. The best way to measure whether a chicken is ready or not is a meat thermometer. Unfortunately, I didn't have one with me this day. Okay, the chicken went back in for another 15 minutes, and this time it's nice and cooked through. Please remember to never cook a frozen chicken. If it's even a little bit frozen in the middle, it will not cook evenly and you can get salmonella. Now it's time to get carving. So you see I cut the strings away, just leave those aside, and now I'm cutting right down the center. That's where the breastbone is, in the center, and on either side those are the chicken breasts. Typically, when I make a whole chicken, I will take the 2 chicken breasts and eat those for dinner with my family. So the 4 of us are quite happy with the 2 chicken breasts. As you can see, I am not doing a fancy job at any of this. I am not a professional chef. I'm a mom, and this is how I cut up chicken. So don't worry if you also look like a lunatic cutting apart a chicken. It's fine as long as your family is getting fed that good, healthy, whole food. You're good. You don't have to plate it beautifully. This isn't a restaurant. This is your home. So I'm putting aside those nice pieces there to eat, and I'll show you what you can do with the rest. Just bear with me while I try to cut out my family's dinner. Alright, now we have eaten most of the chicken breast, and I've left this chicken to cool down a little bit. You don't want it to let it get cold because then you might not be able to store it safely, so it's good that this is still a bit warm. And I'm trying to pick off whatever's left of the chicken breasts on here, and I am just using my hands. I washed my hands thoroughly before doing this, and I just find that it's way too hard to use a knife and fork and get all the meat. You really just have to get in there and use your hands. So I've finished with the breasts. I'm taking the rest of the meat off of the drumsticks there, so you just break them off, pull off the meat, and put that in your container or Tupperware. You can also use Ziploc bags if you prefer. And now I'm going through and trying to get all the bits of meat. So again, it doesn't have to be beautiful. As long as it's healthy and a whole food, we are happy. I flip it over there. There is a ton of meat on the back, so don't forget to go back there. That's where you get all of that really good healthy meat. It actually has less fat than chicken breast. Believe it or not, the chicken thighs back here that I'm carving are less fatty than chicken breasts. So they are definitely good meat, definitely good for you, and you really want to get all that meat off because there will be plenty for you to make another meal. And now I'm just about done. I've filled up 2 glass Tupperware containers with my cooked chicken. It is safer to store things in your fridge in shallow containers because you don't want the heat to gather at the middle and keep it warm for too long.
So you've roasted your chicken and you've set aside half. You've eaten the first half for dinner and set aside everything else. Now, what are you going to do with those leftovers? So I have 4 different recipes that I use regularly for extra chicken, and I'm going to share those with you now.
First up, we have chicken fajitas. It's a great meal. I'm not going to read through all the instructions and ingredients for all of these. Here we have chicken salad. You're going to get a printout of these with your kit. There's pulled chicken. And finally, chicken stir fry. And feel free just to pause the frame and write this down.
And of course, when you make a chicken, you also have to use the bones to make broth. Homemade broth is so delicious, essentially free because you're just using the scraps and water. And you can use it for rice. Instead of adding water to rice, just add chicken broth. You can make a soup with all of it if you like, or you can use it in stir fries. You can use your broth in so many different ways. So here is a simple way of making broth.
Here's my old school crock pot. All I do is pour in the juices, fat, bones, little bit of skin, fill it up with water, and turn it on. That's really all you have to do. Let your broth cook for at least 2 hours, and then you're ready for the next step. So, as you can see, I'm using tongs to remove as much of the bones and skin as I can. I'm going to put that all in a plastic bag and then just put that in the garbage. If I lived out in the country, I would probably try to bury that under a tree. I have tried to do that in my neighborhood and the raccoons just come and dig it up right away. So I've, just had to settle for putting it in the garbage, unfortunately. So now I'm pouring out all of my liquid into a bowl and straining it with my strainer there to get the rest of the bones and fat and skin that I missed. So I can just put that in the garbage. And now that bowl you have there is full of your delicious broth. And the next step is to put that into cans.
Now, I'm not going to go through the whole canning procedure with you because we do have a video already on Niwasa's YouTube about how to properly can your foods, and I don't want to get into that. This doesn't need to be a half-hour-long video.
And look at my beautiful golden chicken broth, all homemade.
All right, well, you've roasted your chicken, you've made your broth, you've put aside your leftover chicken, you have some recipes that you can use for that leftover chicken later. You're all set. See, it wasn't that hard. It is quite a bit of work, the first day when you're cooking the chicken, but then the next day when you're using the leftovers, easy peasy. It's like barely cooking it out. All right, well, I hope that you learned a little bit, and I hope you had fun with me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye now.